1 week from today, the Brooklyn Nets tip off their season in Charlotte against the Hornets right around now. Today, we break down a couple of Sean Marks' final moves before the roster is officially sent to league offices Tuesday afternoon. The latest one being Fanbo Zeng and Grant Nelson swapping roles around the Nets. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Brooklyn Boys Show alongside my co-host, the great Connor Long. I am Josh Woolever. We appreciate you all tuning in. Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 is your date. Appreciate you all in the building with us. Hit like, hit subscribe, interact with this video. Helps us grow a long way. The Instagram is up and popping, so if you haven't done so yet, head over there. Follow us over there. We are trying to do at least daily content, pre-post game shows, halftime check-ins, breaking news stuff, short hitters. The _Brooklyn Boys, your news source for all things Nets, short form content. Again, you guys are the best. Put the like, put the subscribes in. Timothy, you're in the building. Appreciate you. You'll be at the opener, the home opener. Connor and I will be there Friday night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the 24th. A week and 2 days away. Can't wait. Connor, how you doing? Couple more signings to go, and this thing's going to get underway.
Josh, I am doing well. Couple more additions, couple more subtractions every day. That's been the mantra for Sean Marks and company these last few days. And we're just 5 evenings away from everything being official and us not having to talk about roster decisions anymore and having the final roster full steam ahead, of course, entering the 2025-2026 NBA regular season. Final preseason game is Friday. We'll have live coverage of that, of course. So looking forward to it, and should be a fun season for better or worse.
Absolutely, and we'll make it fun no matter how bad the product on the court gets. But let's just hope, man. We've already sat through the Jets. Let's hope the Nets don't screw this season up
Well
either.
said.
Like, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. The two big moves out of Nets world today, if you didn't get a chance to see, the Nets officially cut their ties with Fanbo Zeng and requested waivers on him. First reported, I believe, by beat reporter Eric Slater for ClutchPoints.com. And then immediately following that, the Nets welcomed an old face back into the building, someone who was with them and in the conversation over the summer. Grant Nelson is back. Connor, initial reactions. Do you like the moves? Do you not?
So it's an interesting set of moves, right? Because when Fanbo Zeng latched on with this team about 2 months ago, I believe it
Yeah,
was,
2-3.
he was a guy we spoke a lot about as someone who could potentially be in conversations for a roster spot and at the very least a candidate for that final two-way deal. And look, that could still prove to be true. The Nets can still hand Zang that final two-way contract, but I think we expected more on him in the preseason. I think we expected him to generate more noise and buzz throughout training camp. He had a very quiet preseason. We didn't see him much. Jordi Fernández clearly didn't trust him on the floor. And when we did see him, it was turning the ball over. It was getting into foul trouble in his home country in Macau, China. So, look, he simply didn't do enough. And Jordi has shown through moves like this that if you are new in the building, no matter what your experience looks like, no matter what your ceiling may be as a player, you have to earn your opportunity. You're back at ground one with the Tyrese Martins, with the Jalen Wilsons, with everyone on the roster, and you have to earn your keep as a new player. And unfortunately, I just don't think Zang did enough to earn a roster spot. Now, when you talk about the addition of Grant Nelson, this is someone that was intriguing because there were reports that circulated, most notably a friend of the show, Bob Windrum from Nets Daily, who reported that Nelson could have been drafted in the end of the second round, but ultimately he elected to not and to sign with Brooklyn as an undrafted free agent. We saw him get some run over the summer league, and this is a guy pre-summer league I was really looking forward to watching because of that skill set, that upside. I mean, you look, he's 6'10", he's 215 pounds, 11.5 points per game, 7.6 rebounds per game at Alabama, someone who was able to shoot the rock his freshman year of college. You begin to descend. You see the form, though, his freshman year of college, over 35.6 beyond the arc. And it's kind of slowly begun to descend ever since, but averages over a block a game every year throughout his collegiate career, averaged 9.3 rebounds during his final year at North Dakota State. So he's a guy where the upside, you see the ceiling there. He's signed to an Exhibit 10 deal, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. Do they keep him past, I think, next Monday's roster deadline? We'll see that. I think at the end of the day, however,
Yeah,
it's either going to be Grant Nelson or Fanbo Zeng who take that final two-way deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you're right. You made a couple good points there. Fanbo Zeng going into the preseason, someone who didn't play over the summer league, obviously. But look, we had to hear a lot about what he did in the CBA, how much upside he had there. And he was, this crafty guy that, could take that next big step, has so much potential, could bring it to the NBA level. But then you're
Yeah.
right. He kind of played his way out of fitting into this puzzle. He doesn't play in 2 out of the first 3 preseason games, and not because he simply didn't put him out onto the court. And that has to tell you something right off the bat about how he practiced. And maybe the Nets were thinking this whole time, Zhang isn't our guy, so we want to get some other guys run. So, first of all, it was a huge red flag to not see him play in 2 of 3 preseason games. For a guy that's fighting for a roster spot, that's where you got to impress. And then the one game he does play, he comes immediately in. It's in front of his home country where, maybe you thought the first game he didn't play, they were trying to rest him up for the Macau games. Comes in front of his home country late in the third quarter, commits 2 sloppy fouls, looks uncoordinated, and doesn't even put up a shot, despite multiple good opportunities at looks. So someone who, in my eyes, going into this preseason, I was excited. I think he had the upside, and I've been saying it all summer. If there's one team in the NBA that can give a guy a roster spot and give him a chance, it's probably going to be these Brooklyn Nets, just because of how bad this team is, how much availability there is to move on from guys. But to be honest, I do think he played his way out of the equation here. As for Grant Nelson, this is someone who, despite being 23, is pretty old in terms of NBA rookie years. He played 5 years at college. So compared to some of these one and done guys in the modern day, Nelson is certainly on the older side, but that's not to say he can't come into this league, have an impact. To me, he kind of reminds me, Connor, when you were just listing off a couple stats there, he kind of reminds me of a sort of unpolished Noah Clowney. He's not the biggest guy on the court, but he can still rebound. He can still play in the paint. And if he can shoot that 3 ball at a more efficient clip, he could be someone of value down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think age matters with a guy like Grant Nelson, because it's not like the Nets drafted him or spent any sort of draft capital on him. He's just an Exhibit 10 flyer. I mean, I don't really give a shit how old he is. How old is Jalen Wilson? 24, 25-ish. Tyrese Martin's 26 years old and might be a rotational player on this team. So unless you really drafted the guy, it doesn't matter to me how old they are.
I guess, but my point was that Zhang going in, I thought he had the upside to compete for a roster spot, and he played his way out of that. And now here comes a guy that, the way the Nets look at it, they probably are looking for the most upside. So I think it says a lot.
See, I
Moving on from
disagree with
Zhang.
that. I
You
disagree with
disagree
that.
that they're looking for upside most in the guys they're bringing in?
Yes, I vehemently disagree. Then why would they move on from 22-year-old Fanbo Zeng, and why would they have 26-year-old Tyrese Martin still on their roster? Like
I just don't think they think Zhang can
why
compete at
would
the
they trade
NBA
for
level.
Michael Porter Jr.? Like every decision that this team is making, no matter what the fan base would like to think, is to win and to win now.
Which is crazy.
But it's true.
I mean, the way I see it is, I just don't think they think Fanbo Zeng can compete at the NBA level. Like, at a certain point, you draw the line between, like, unreachable upside and a player who can actually compete in this league. And I
You
just
think
think they
Tyrese
drew the line
Martin
at
is an
Fanbo
NBA
Zeng.
caliber player?
No, I think he's a G League caliber player, but I think this Nets team has a lot of guys that would not crack other teams' rosters.
Agreed. So then again, if they cared about upside, if they only cared about upside, they wouldn't move on from Fanbo Zeng.
Probably wouldn't move on from Dariq Whitehead either.
Agreed.
Yeah, I
Completely
mean,
agree.
But it's so hard for me to say this team is trying to win now. Like, I
They
think we
are.
can agree this is the worst team in the NBA.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know about the worst team in the NBA. They're certainly in the
Maybe
bottom three.
the Jazz.
Um, when you talk about overall roster talent, the construction of the roster, it doesn't matter where they stack up. That doesn't change their decision making. I mean, Sean Marks, Jordi Fernández, they've made it clear they're trying to win now. Again, why would you trade for Michael Porter Jr.? Why would you decide to bring back Cam Thomas instead of trading him if you weren't all in on winning? Why would you just bring Cam Thomas back on a qualifying offer? Like, why would you cut your first round pick of 2 years ago? Why would you trade for Terrence Mann? Why would you trade for Haywood Highsmith? Like, why would you add all these guys if you had no intention of winning and just tanking? Like, there are going to be veterans who are going to play so many minutes on this team. This Nets team is trying to win basketball games, whether we like it or not as fans.
I think the trade pieces are a result of the Nets trying to acquire draft capital, and the Cam Thomas situation is a result of a botched general management not realizing the situation he was in. And Cam Thomas just did not want to come back to the Nets by any means necessary. So we took the best route for him to escape as soon as possible.
Fair enough, but then why do you cut Dariq Whitehead?
That's beyond me. Trust me, I don't want Tyrese Martin on this roster.
Yeah, I mean, why do you keep Tyrese Martin? Why do you keep Jalen Wilson? Why does Jalen Wilson play the most minutes among anyone on your team last year? Like, those are the questions we have to ask ourselves when we say, this Nets team is just trying to tank. I vehemently disagree with that statement.
Well, I think as a byproduct of the team being so bad, they will end up being bad anyway.
Correct, but that's not what you said. You said they're looking for just upside. That's their number one priority in a player. Like, I disagree with that.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, they will be bad, whatever way you slice the cake up. And to be honest, let's see if Grant Nelson ends up making his final roster. Should be interesting. Connor sounds like a guy that you want to make the final roster. You do not.
I want a two-way, not the final roster spot. He's not. You have so many big men on your roster. Why would you roster another big man like this? I mean, you have Day'Ron Sharpe. You have, obviously, Nick Claxton as your two starting guys, and then you have Danny Wolf and Noah Clowney. You're both going to command a lot of minutes. I think rostering 5 big men would be irrational for this team.
This sort of just feels like a Drew Timme refresh in my eyes.
Younger than Drew Timme. I think a better player than Drew Timme, has more upside.
Yeah. That's what I meant by
Timme.
refresh. Like, go a little bit younger. And at the end of the day, like, Timme was great for them in the G League, but you get new eyes on a new player, and there's going to be a lot of movement on this roster, not just now, not just within the next 5 days, but at the deadline, the Nets are going to be, I'm sure, heavily involved on the phone lines, and they'll be adding and subtracting all around. And honestly, on cut down day as well, let's see if anybody, that the Nets were eyeing in the offseason ends up getting cut by a team. The Nets decide to pick him up. Fanbo Zeng, released by the Nets. Grant Nelson signed the 2 latest roster moves. Connor, you got a big show coming up tomorrow. Excited to watch that. And then it's off to Toronto for the final preseason game of the season. Let's hope that a couple of these guys that we just mentioned can make an impact, make that final roster spot. But just as a quick preview, anyone you are looking out for on Friday?
Not in particular. Drake Powell. I don't think Yegor's going to ultimately play.
Yeah, they're leaning no, I think.
Which I think is a good thing. There's no point in playing him at this point. You saw him in the summer league. Don't risk re-injuring that foot, obviously, before opening night. Same old. Preseason's kind of like a nothing burger for me. Meh. Look out for the rookies. We'll still have coverage over here on the channel.
Absolutely. Like and subscribe. Throw questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. We'll take a quick break. Come right back. You're listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show live.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show with your host, Connor Long. If you're enjoying the show, drop us a sub and leave a like. It helps more Nets fans find us. Quick break, then back to talking Brooklyn Nets basketball.
Today's episode of the Brooklyn Boys Show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Shoreline Sports Cards, located at 137 Main Street in Port Washington, New York. Whether you're chasing the newest hobby boxes, grabbing singles, or just want to talk cards with fellow collectors, Shoreline is the spot. They've got a massive selection across basketball, football, baseball, and more, with new inventory hitting the shelves every single week. If you're local, make sure to stop by the shop at 137 Main Street in Port Washington and check it out for yourself. If you're not in the area, no worries at all. You can still keep up with Shoreline by following them on Instagram, eBay, and whatnot for product drops, live breaks, deals, and hobby updates. All links are right in the description down below. Huge thanks to Shoreline Sports Cards for supporting the show and the Brooklyn Nets community.
You are listening to the Brooklyn Boys Show, streaming live on YouTube and on Twitter. Hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't gotten to do so yet. Get questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. We'll go there in a second. Connor, Nets Twitter today, the hottest discussion post Fanbo Zeng was who is your ideal starting lineups, and are you prioritizing the rookies in the development like we said, or are you prioritizing winning basketball games?
Of course, the rookies in the development. I mean, they don't draft 5 rookies for no reason. I don't care where this team finishes. They don't have the chops to play in the playoffs. They don't have the chops to hold their own in the play-in tournament. So I'm certainly prioritizing the development and how these rookies ultimately shape up in their progress through 1 year. So I'm looking at that. And what was this first thing? Sorry, you continue to cut in and out.
My bad. I was just starting 5.
Oh, starting 5. That's what it
Preview.
was. Yeah, starting 5 this year, I'll say Yegor Dioman, Cam Thomas, Michael
This is the
Porter
tough one.
Jr., Day'Ron Sharp, Nick Claxton.
I don't think they're going to go that big. Probably it's going to be man at the 3, and then Zaire Williams.
Terrence Mann over the guy
And
they
then-
just are paying $40 million and Michael
No,
Porter
I just don't
Jr.?
think Day'Ron Sharp is in this team's starting lineup.
Oh,
I think
okay. So you have Porter at the 4.
yes, I have Porter
Interesting.
power forward, and then Nick Claxton at the 5. I think Zaire overtakes that role for the 3, 20-ish games into the year, but I think they do start man opening night in Charlotte at the 3.
Interesting.
Do you think that the Nets would be willing to go, 4 guys at 6'10 plus?
I mean,
Or 3?
Zaire Williams was the center at a point for Brooklyn multiple times throughout the year, and he's 6'9". Like,
Yes.
they play a lot of positionless basketball. We know small ball doesn't work. They continue to do it. So I certainly see situations where we'll have it this season.
And has Ben Saraf impressed you enough to be the first guy off the bench at the point guard spot?
No, but I think he's done enough for Jordi, and I think that's really all that matters. I think we're going to see a world where it's kind of him and Nolan Traore platooning that role.
Yeah, it should be interesting in terms of hoping Yegor Dioman's healthy by opening day, but then also I'm sure there's going to be a lot of rotations at ball handler this year, and I'm sure Yegor will get his looks running the 3 and off-ball stuff as his priority as well. But Saraf, what do you have? 11 assists in the final 2, not the final, but the last preseason game. The fouls were a problem in the first game against Hapoel Jerusalem, but you gotta hope that this team takes 4 guards/forwards and one of them better work out as this team's primary ball handler, and hopefully competition between Traore and Saraf sparks a little something there for that backup spot. But to be honest, if Traore can fill in at the 2 down the line, post Cam Thomas era, maybe even, post Terrence Mann era, he could be a 3 guy. This Nets team could shake up the depth chart a lot, not only throughout this season, but in the future. And I guess what I'm trying to get at here is we know these guys are going to spend time on Long Island this season. That's undoubtable. And they have to get experience somewhere. So if they can at the NBA level, there's no point in having them sit on the bench for half of the season. Where you need to see the strides this year for me This team needs to be careful with the ball. They need to take high percentage shots, which, boy, did they not do last year.
Yep.
And I think the problem was a lot of the times, Dennis Schroeder was going hyper in the beginning of last year. So there's a little bit of an exception here, but a lot of the times, Nets players just weren't playing in their role. I want to see Ben Saraf relax. I want to see him play the true point guard and, not be the modern day Steph Curry, try and shoot as many threes as you can. We know how much fluidity there's going to be around this roster, but let's see these guys, play their freaking roles on this team. Hopefully that's what Jordi can instill.
Agreed.
Like, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Let's get into your chats. Say what's up to you guys. Timothy's in the building. Jason, says what's up. He says, what's up, guys? 1 week away from the season opener. Go Nets. Well said. Claude pops in, says, usually I don't like for a team to tank, but I'll make an exception for the Nets to do that this season.
The Nets aren't going to deliberately tank. I just don't think that's going to happen. I never root for my team to tank. I think the Nets, look, it's going to be intriguing. Obviously, they got off to a rough start when you talk about the tank race last year, starting 9-10. I mean, I could see a world looking at their schedule where they can start 9-10. These spark plugs play well. You look at the first 10 games of the year, Charlotte's winnable, Cleveland's a loss, San Antonio, Houston, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Minnesota. Those are all winnable games.
I disagree. I do not think there's a world in which the Nets play like they did.
Did anyone think the Nets were going to push the 11-0 Cavs to overtime last year?
Look, that's a product of great coaching.
And Jordi Fernández is a great coach.
I agree.
I think this roster is more talented than last year's.
I am ready and willing to sign off on the Jordi.
Well, actually, I want to take back that comment. I think last year's roster at the beginning of the year was more talented because you had Dennis Schroeder, you had Cam Johnson,
DFS,
Dorian Finney-Smith. I think last year's roster, beginning of the year, was more talented because they had more of those established veterans.
Yeah, and then they basically just said, "Get out of here" at the deadline.
Yeah,
tried to make up for lost ground, should we say? That did not happen in the beginning of the season where they were lined up for a play-in spot. I disagree. I think this is going to be a tough start to the season for Brooklyn. I think this is probably a team that wins 2-3 of their first 10 games. There might be a couple winnable games out there, but you got to understand there is so little continuity. Basically, the only guys coming back on this roster that are going to get starting minutes on this team, Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton. And I guess you could run the pick and roll, say those two can get involved with each other, but it's not like you have the entire backcourt with continuity. It's not like the front court knows each other well. There's going to be a lot to figure out with this Nets team, and especially when your starting ball handler hasn't played a game all preseason, and the other three guys in the starting lineup didn't play at all over the summer because they're not in their first 3 years in the league. So I think there's a lot of continuity to sort of be figured out, and the first 10 or so, 15 games are going to be a testing ground. And I don't want to say the Nets completely fail. I think there's going to be steps and there's going to be morals and there's going to be experiences to take away for this team and for Jordi Fernandez's coaching staff to learn on moving forward. But I think it's a lot to ask for this team to come out hot out of the gate, considering they don't have much continuity. And to be honest, they just play a lot of tough teams.
I think, honestly, less continuity when you talk about a start to the season is better. You haven't put anything on film. You haven't shown anything
on film, but I don't know if you can expect Michael Porter Jr., Cam Thomas to just flow right into each other and set it up well together with a guy that you are going to have never played with except within scrimmages.
I mean, let's also not overrate the talent of these opposing teams. The Charlotte Hornets are not a very good basketball team.
Yeah, but work past that. Cleveland, San Antonio.
I don't think, San Antonio, they can push. Cleveland is a loss. Cleveland's not a very good team. Houston, that's a winnable. There are winnable games on this.
Houston?
I have them winning game 1 of the year against Charlotte.
That's not ridiculous. That's a toss-up 50-50. I haven't fully committed one way, but that is a certainly winnable game.
I don't think that's a crazy take at all. I mean, yeah, Houston, you look at the Hawks,
I mean, I'm gonna just stop you.
Oh, sorry, not Houston.
The Nets are
Sorry,
not
not
winning
Houston.
that
KD, they're not beating KD and company.
Yeah.
In the Houston Rockets. Like I think San Antonio is a more winnable game than most people.
I mean, Victor Wembanyama, Dylan Harper. That's
Look
not
at
a
how
win.
good are they? That's like one. That's one very, very good player. And
That the Nets can't even come close to touching in terms of just
they beat
skill.
San Antonio last year. Like they can.
Yeah, but that was when their roster was depleted, out of their minds depleted.
Well, the roster, like right now, their roster, they have Wemby, sure. You like the roster outside of that: Dylan Harper, rookie; Stephon Castle, young and ascending; Carter Bryant, another rookie; Jeremy Sohan, we know what he is. Like there aren't many guys behind Wemby, and we know when you're the game plan, Brooklyn has been able to shut down stars like that when they're just the game plan. Except when your name is Jaren Duran. The Nets have been able to hone in on one player and stop that player. Jordi Fernández is a defensive-minded head coach. This scheme has had success before. Like. Again, I think people are underrating the players on this team and the pieces. When you talk about how many wins I think they end up getting, I think it's like somewhere from 20 to 25. But I think this is a team that can start out very, very hot.
I think you're right in saying that the Nets can, game plan around strategizing against one player defensively and running a zone to eliminate their game. But when it's 6-11 on a good day, Nick Claxton against 7-4 Victor Wembanyama, and one of them can
that's the question.
hit threes on the
Nick
perimeter.
Claxton are you getting?
One of them can hit threes on the perimeter. One of them can hit basically any shot on the floor while being, half a foot taller. That is just a freaking cheat code.
But the question you ask is, what Nick Claxton are you getting?
Exactly. If you're getting 20, 22, 23 Nick Claxton, sure, maybe he puts up a great fight in the paint. If you're getting last year's Nick Claxton where he couldn't rebound and he couldn't block shots, then you wrap it up and just give San Antonio and Victor Wembanyama 35-point night.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Smash like, hit subscribe. We'll get through a couple more of your questions, comments, thoughts before we hit it on the show. Jason comes in. Fanbo Zeng was useless that game against the Suns in China. Yeah, and that's the only game he played, so his case got no help. BC in the house, his usual go Lakers. LeBron, I got to say that second announcement thing and the whole thing was an ad.
People actually thought that was happening. Like, that was ridiculous.
Well, what was going to happen? He already opted into his contract. He was going to get traded to Cleveland? I don't know.
Also, like, we're past the 2009. Like, even people forget, Alan Hahn literally reported the night before that he was going to Miami. Like, that was literally reported, like, the night before. If LeBron was getting traded, it would have been leaked. He wasn't getting traded.
No.
If anything, I thought it would be like, oh, I'm retiring after this year. This is my final tour.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
And then ticket price would go up. I didn't think it was anything significant. People were like, what if he's just quitting basketball? What if he's going back to Miami? Like, what if this? What if that? It was ridiculous. LeBron, I know you're not watching, but incredible troll job. And you bought a lot of these NBA fans in.
Claude says this should be a developmental season. To hell with the win-loss record. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter. Secure a top 3 pick. That's the ultimate
easier said than
reality.
done. I mean, the Nets had the 8th pick this year. Like, it's
that was a colossal miss.
Tank job, and it started by winning early in the year.
Yeah, it started by great coaching, pushing the Celtics to OT twice, pushing the Nuggets down to the final buzzer, the undefeated Cavs. So that was if nothing else, I think the Nets are still going to be fun to watch this year, and that's
Agreed.
Not a lot of teen win teams.
Yep,
can say that. Like, we know Wizards fans, friends. You think they sat down and put a smile on their face watching the games last year? Probably not.
They didn't even have anyone good, but now they are fun to watch, the Wizards.
Why start Cam Thomas if we aren't keeping him after this season? Well, because Connor alluded to it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Nets are going to want to go into Barclays Center every night and put on the best product on the court. And when you have a guy with the ability to drop 20, 30 points a game, that's who's going to play. So, Claude, I think it will be sayonara after the season. I think he can't wait to get out of Brooklyn, hence why he took half as much pay to waive a no-trade clause. But it is goodbye for Cam Thomas after the season, so you milk him for all his worth, I think is what they got.
Absolutely.
A couple more. Kuman Malowich brought his A game against the Lakers a few nights ago. He wasn't that impressive against the Nets. He still looked pretty raw, but that's what you expect out of a 7-footer who's 18 years old.
And he's so raw too. So
Yeah, exactly.
so raw.
Thomas will likely get traded at the deadline.
I don't know about that.
Says Timothy.
I disagree. I think he's gonna want a full year to be able to stat pad with Brooklyn.
Yeah, and he has the right to waive whatever he wants, so he ultimately decides his entire future.
Yep.
But maybe if you get an offer to, somehow send him to Houston, he wants to ring chase with his old pal KD. Maybe, but
I need a role player and a first-round pick back if I'm trading Cam Thomas.
And Cam Thomas might just not want to give you that value after how he thinks you treated him this season.
It doesn't matter. He has to play.
Timothy says, Connor, they aren't going to win any of the games against the playoff teams from last season.
You never know. Weren't we saying the same exact thing last year? I'm not picking them to win against Cleveland. I'm not picking them to win against Houston. I am saying they can be in games against Charlotte. They can be in games against San Antonio. They can be in games against Atlanta. Like, I just think we are undermining some of the talent that this team has.
Staying games and winning games are two very different things. Ask Aaron Glenn. He'd love to tell you. Let's see here. How many wins do you guys think you have? I've been like 19 through 23 this whole offseason. It's hard to put an exact number on an 82-game season because, look, if Yegor Gielman re-injures his foot and Cam Thomas is out for half the season, obviously the win total plummets. But at the end of the day, Jordi Fernández could easily coach this team to be, a 26-win team. So,
would they have last year 26?
Yes.
And 32 the year prior. Yeah, I think 20. 20 is fair.
20 sounds about right. But expect this team, just head into every night expecting this team to lose. You'll be pleasantly surprised if they win. And if not, there is a big, big, big silver lining. So at the end of the day, you can't complain whether it goes either way. Last couple here. Generational Hater says, why would the Nets want to win games this year? Is it a priority to stack up another draft pick in the loaded class before having to swap 2027 first to Houston? That's an interesting one, the 2027 first. So that's something Sean Marks and his team are going to have to figure out a couple years down the road. But you probably have to find a way to get that pick back in your possession because after the Nets sold out to the big three for James Harden, and after, this team had a colossal collapse with the big three where none of it worked out and you're still paying the repercussions mid-tank, it is going to be tough. So the Nets probably, want the best pick possible, but again, they want to go into every night, hoping for the best. Meg Nelson comes in. You young men are very intelligent and have a high basketball IQ. I'm impressed. This is our first year following the Brooklyn Nets. Incidentally, I'm Grant Nelson's mom. Meg, thank you so much. You dropped us a follow on the Instagram. You're the best. Appreciate the kind words. Always thankful for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Nelson. We appreciate you tuning in. Looking forward to covering Grant and everything he may bring to this team. You go back, you watch some of these summer episodes. I was speaking highly of your son. Very, very talented player. Was fun to cover throughout the summer league and hope to see him on that final two-way deal. I actually live on Long Island, so if he spends, some of the year on Long Island, I will be sure to make it out to some of those games. And obviously Josh and I will be at the season opener. So go Nets, and thank you for supporting the show. Thank you all for supporting the show, and thank you so much, Meg Nelson, for joining us right here on this Wednesday evening, everyone. Daily Nets content here, if you don't know already. Pre- and post-game reactions to every single game right here on the channel. We're live every evening, of course, leading up to these roster decisions, so stay tuned for that. We appreciate the support as always. Got a fun show coming up tomorrow. NBA insider Jake Fisher will join me 5:30 p.m. start time, so stay tuned for that. Here on the channel should be a super fun and engaging show. We appreciate the hell out of you guys.
Absolutely, Mrs. Nelson. Appreciate you tuning in and the rest of you as well. Everyone, do us a favor. Have a great night. Stay safe. Only 1 week until the Nets are in Charlotte, tipping off the season. It has been a long summer, but I am extremely excited to be able to say that from my co-host, Connor Long. I'm Josh Woolever for the Brooklyn Boys Show, saying have a great night, everybody. Stay safe, and let's go Nets. We'll catch you on the next one with Connor's interview coming up tomorrow evening.